Today we are using this first stack PDF, which you can find in the Freezer Meals 101 Club. The link for that is down below. This includes our recipes, our shopping list, prep list, and printable labels. It's got everything we need to get these meals assembled. We like to recommend that you do your prep one day and your assembly the next day. It helps break things up, but it also ensures that all of your prepped ingredients have a chance to cool so that when they go into your meals, they're not warm or hot. The reason that's important is because if your ingredients are warm or hot in your bags, you're gonna get condensation, and that can change the integrity of the meals, and it also makes your freezer work harder. All the prep for everything we're making today, I did in another video where I walk you through exactly how to do that prep and also some tips to make that go a lot faster and easier. You can find that video right up here. When you're new to freezer cooking, it's okay to start small. Just something simple like doubling your dinner and having one tonight and freezing the other one for a week from now, 2 weeks from now, whenever your next super busy day is totally fine, and you'd be surprised how quickly that can add up. But if you decide to do what we're doing today and have a bit of an assembly day where you're doing a whole stack, then we recommend that you work with one protein at a time. The main reason for this is that it prevents cross-contamination, which is really important. Food safety matters. But the other reason is because it actually makes things go a lot faster. Now, when it comes to working with raw chicken, we do find that sometimes with chicken thighs in particular, there can be bits of little bits of bone or gristle or that kind of thing. And so we do like to go through and trim the chicken. Now, you can do that when you do your prep. And sometimes when we do our prep, Christy, who's my friend and neighbor that usually does freezer meals with me, she will sometimes prep the night before, and she'll sit there and watch a show or listen to an audiobook or whatever while she does a whole lot of chicken at one time and get it all done that way. I've chosen to not prep my chicken ahead this time, so we're just gonna trim it right now and get it into the bags. The reason is I wanted to show you how much faster it is to work with one protein at a time and to make multiples of similar or the same meal. So you'll get a chance to see just how fast you can get these meals done. I like to just use kitchen scissors to help me do this. I just go through and feel around and see if there's any little shards of bone or anything that is kind of yucky. I'm a bit squeamish, so this is not my favorite part, but you gotta do what you gotta do. All right, the chicken is in the bags, it is trimmed. I am gonna go wash my hands, and then we're gonna give this a good wipe down before we continue. One of the other things that we suggest doing is getting all your ingredients out for your recipes before you start. I like to actually just grab the recipe and take it with me as I go around my kitchen and grab things out from the pantry and the fridge. It's just a small thing, but it actually saves a lot of time, because then you don't find yourself in the middle of the recipe realizing oh no, I forgot to buy Kalamata olives. Now, I did not forget to buy that this time because I did use the shopping list, but I do have all of the ingredients that we're gonna need today behind me, or all the pantry ingredients anyway. I did keep the ground beef and things like that in the fridge so that they can stay cool, and again, food safety is key. So I'm just gonna grab the ingredients for our Mediterranean chicken. We are doubling each of these meals, so I'm gonna be making 2 of the Mediterranean chicken sheet pan. It's so much faster to make multiples of each meal at one time. Things like, if you're gonna chop 1 onion, you chop 2 onions, it takes the same knife, the same cutting board, you're doing the same amount of dishes. In the end, you end up with double the amount of meals. But also, you'll be able to see today how fast it is for me to get these ingredients into the freezer bag. And when I'm making 2, you'll see it's just like I'm putting the onions in this bag and then I'm putting the onions in this bag. So it's super fast and you end up being doubly rewarded for your efforts. So into this Mediterranean chicken sheet pan, we've got our raw, boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Then we're going to add some purple onion that's cut into large chunks. And we did this yesterday in our prep day. Then we're gonna do half a cup of sun-dried tomato and oregano salad dressing. Now, if you can't find this, then you can find recipes for making your own online. So you could make your own, or you could buy a sun-dried tomato vinaigrette or a Greek salad dressing. Any of that will work. Basically, from the dressing, what you're wanting is a salad dressing will have some oil, some vinegar, seasonings, and a little bit of sweetness, so either a bit of sugar or a bit of honey. So whether you make your own or you use a pre-purchased salad dressing like I've used today, it'll work. And those things make a lovely marinade that help tenderize the meat. This dish, I cannot wait for you to try it. It is so good, and it's a sheet pan meal. So it all cooks up at the same time, all on one baking sheet, less dishes. Next, we're gonna add some garlic. We like to use our garlic just from a jar. It's already minced that way, but if you wanna mince your own garlic, you can go ahead and do that. So what I do on days that I'm assembling a lot of meals is I actually keep the spoon in the garlic jar all day. That just makes it easy. I also keep a scoop in the things like the diced onions, the minced onions, the ground beef, anything like that where I'm going to need to be scooping out or measuring, scooping and measuring in general. I keep a scoop right in there. It just saves time. And these little things actually add up throughout the course of the day, or in this case, this is not gonna take you a day. We are not making a month or 3 months worth of meals today. We're just making a week or two worth of meals. And because your prep is already done, this is only gonna take you an hour. Now we're gonna add some Greek seasoning and some mint. You can use fresh or dried. Next, you're gonna add some lemon juice. Now, another thing that saves a fair bit of time is that you don't always have to measure exactly. It's okay when it comes to cooking if you just kind of guesstimate, especially when it comes to something simple like just putting a glug of lemon juice in there. We're trying for 1 tablespoon, so we can kind of approximate that. Now, if you were baking, this would be a totally different story. You don't want to guess for measurements when you're baking. But for cooking, honestly, it saves time, it saves dishes, and it'll still taste the same. Next, we're going to be adding some capers. My bet is that you do not have a jar this big of capers at your house. I've been trying to go through this jar for quite a while. But we do have a fair amount of recipes in the club that use capers, so they do come in handy if you like Mediterranean type of dishes. Again, I'm sort of estimating. It calls for 2 tablespoons, and I'm just guessing. Plus, our family likes capers, so extra is going to be just fine. Now, if you find yourself with a giant jar of capers, or a giant jar of really anything else, what you can do is, in the Freezer Meals 101 Club, you can do a search for capers in the ingredient search bar, and that will populate all the recipes that use capers, and then you can create yourself a meal plan just for the express purpose of using up your jar. Next, we're gonna add some pitted Kalamata olives. And that's it. Like, as simple as that. We have 2 full dinners done. Now, The next step is very important, and this is going to be true for all of your freezer meals. You're going to want to squish things together in the bag. So what I like to do is seal the bag when it still has air in it, and then just give things a little toss. Then you're going to open that bag back up just a little bit, and you're going to get as much air as you possibly can out of the bag. When you're freezer cooking, air causes freezer burn. So you want to be careful to get that excess air out before you freeze it. Now there's different methods of getting the air out. You'll find one that works best for you. I like to open just a corner of the bag and kind of coax all my air over to that one corner as I seal the bag up. So now I've done a pretty good job here of getting my air out. I'm bringing this over for you to see that it's not perfect, but most of the air is out of this bag. And now we're going to lay this flat when we freeze it. It just takes up a lot less space in your freezer that way. Before we do that, we're going to put the printable label on it with the cooking instructions. We also have dates on the labels, and that's so that you know when it went in your freezer. Most freezer meals are good for about 3 to 6 months, so you want to make sure that you use it up by then. And you're just going to seal up your next bag the same way. So again, just seal it with some air still in it, and then give it a toss. This part's kind of fun. And then you're going to open up just a corner of the bag, and then just gently coax all that air up to that corner. You get better at it with practice. And press it to flatten it out. Then you add your label, and just like that, you have now made 2 tasty dinners. Now, when you go to cook this one, you're gonna thaw it, and you're gonna dump the contents of the bag out on a baking sheet. You're gonna add 1 cup of baby tomatoes onto the baking sheet, and you can give it a bit of a stir so that the seasonings coat the tomatoes as well. And then you're gonna get it into your oven. At the end, if you want to, you can take some crumbled feta cheese and sprinkle that all over top. Put it back in your oven on broil just for like a minute or 2. And that will crisp that feta up. And this is a full meal. If you want to, you can serve it with rice or couscous or even tabbouleh, and you just have this amazing, healthy Mediterranean dinner. Next, we're gonna do our barbecue shredded chicken. This one is super simple. Seriously, just 5 ingredients, and it is super family friendly. This is one that also feeds a crowd. Now, you can make this one with chicken breasts or with chicken thighs. I chose to do chicken thighs today because the other recipe was with chicken thighs, and I just wanted to make it simpler for myself. So if you happen to have chicken breasts on hand and not chicken thighs, you can go ahead and use those instead. You'd want to use about 3 to 5 chicken breasts, depending on, you know, the size of your family and that kind of thing. For the chicken thighs, like 8 to 12. So I think we're kind of using in the 10-ish range today. Again, this is so simple, and it's gonna come together super fast. So we've got our minced onion that we're gonna add. As you can see, I've got the scoop right in the onions. When it comes to your minced or diced onions, 1 cup is about 1 medium onion. So if a recipe calls for 1 onion, you're gonna put about 1 cup in. This one calls for 3/4 of an onion, so I'm gonna do around 3/4 of a cup. Next, we've got our garlic, which is super easy because we're just using it from the jar again. And then we're going to do some barbecue sauce. The other thing that we like to tell you is to have your measuring cups and your spoons and your measuring spoons and scoops and everything out when you take all of your ingredients out. But I'm not really on the ball today, so I had to go grab this. Minor detail. So we're gonna add a full jar of barbecue sauce to each of these. You can use whatever barbecue sauce is your preference. And then it calls for half a cup of apple cider vinegar. But what we like to do is we like to actually measure it out and then pour it into our barbecue sauce bottle. And then put the lid back on your barbecue sauce and give it a good shake. That's gonna get out the remnants of that barbecue sauce so that nothing goes to waste. And yes, just like that, you have another meal done. We're gonna again seal the bag with some air still in it. Shake that around or squish it around in the bag. Give your chicken a nice little massage. And then we're going to open the corner back up. Squish our air up there, sealing it as we go. And just like that, we've got our barbecue shredded chicken ready to put a label on. And I think you can already see that because we have all of our ingredients out, it's just so easy to do a second meal at the same time. Now for this one, when you go to make it, you're gonna thaw your bag and then you're going to just dump the contents into your slow cooker or your Instant Pot, get it cooked up. You're gonna shred the chicken and you can serve this on buns. We like to serve it with a garlic mayo and some coleslaw right on your bun. It is messy and like so delicious and drippy and like down your hands and your face, and everyone is like hardly talking because all you hear is like, like it's that kind of meal. Anyway, give it a try. This is also a great one to take with you if you go camping. I am so excited for you. If you have never experienced the feeling of having your freezer stacked with meals so that you just go in, you open it up, you see your options, and you're like, you know, I feel like having that today. Or like, I have a super busy day. I'm going to be running around. I'm not gonna have any time to do anything. So I'm just gonna take this out because it can cook in the slow cooker today while I'm out. Or, you know, I'm only gonna have a small window of time between work and running somebody to soccer or going to my book club or whatever it is. And so I'm gonna take out a meal that cooks up in the skillet in like 10 minutes. Like, all of those things are available to you, and the very best part about it is that you don't have to think about it. Like, all the mental space is taken off your plate and you can just be free to think about things that you want to think about or the other million things that you have to think about. But all the mental load is taken off your plate. It is such a great feeling. It's a little taste of freedom. And even though you might have a million other things in your brain, at least dinner is something that you don't have to worry about again. I'm so excited for you to just experience this feeling because I love it. I still love it after all these years. I still appreciate it because I remember what it feels like to not have that. And occasionally I do run out of freezer meals, and when that happens, I get to experience it all over again, and then I'm grateful when I get that freezer stacked again. So we're gonna move on to our ground beef meals. So I've taken my ground beef out of the fridge. Again, we had prepped this yesterday, so it's all browned and cooled. I have the scoop in here that I was telling you about. Now, 1 pound of ground beef is going to be 2 1/3 cups. So that's super helpful to know, so that when you're putting together these ground beef recipes, you know, you just scoop 2 and a little bits of these into your bag and you've got your pound. Another thing that I wanted to show you really quickly is some of our recipes will call for additional things to be put into a smaller quart-size bag. And then oddly enough, one of the things that you will need for freezer meals is a stapler, because we're gonna ask you to staple your little bags onto your big bag. We get you to staple them above the seal so that you don't make holes in your bag. That way you have everything you need for the day of cooking and you don't have to worry about going to the grocery store or have anything else on your mind. So the first thing that we're gonna make here is another 5-ingredient recipe. It is our 1-pot taco spaghetti. So when we did our prep, we added a little bit of cornstarch into our shredded cheddar cheese, and as you can see, even though it's been in the fridge overnight, it's not sticking together because of that cornstarch. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some shredded cheese into our quart-size medium freezer bags. And with these, we want to again get the air out as much as we can. We're going to set these aside for now, and then we're going to start in on the main bag. So we're going to add in our ground beef. Again, 2 1/3 cups to make that pound for each one. This does not have to be exact. Then we've got our minced onion. It's just half an onion, so that's going to be half a cup in each bag. 4 tablespoons of taco seasoning, which is equal to 1 of those taco seasoning packets. We go through so much of our taco seasoning that, as you can see, we buy the large Costco container. I also want to mention that those chicken thighs that I had earlier, those were also Costco containers, and they work out perfectly because half of each of those is 8 to 12 chicken thighs. So 1 tray will make 2 meals, and it's just really easy once you know that to plan out your chicken dishes. Next, our recipe calls for a can of Rotel. Now, I do like to use the electric can opener when I'm doing freezer meals. You don't have to have one. A regular can opener will do the trick, but if you're doing a lot of meals at one time, and I usually do 3 months at one time, so that is a lot of cans that get opened. So I have found that for me, the investment in an electric can opener has paid off again and again. Next, you're going to just toss this all together in the bag and then get out your air, seal it, and lay it flat. Now, sometimes you may find that you did not do a great job of getting your air out, and then you can just open up that corner again and press everything over towards it and give it another try. And I did a much better job that time. So now you're gonna take your bag of shredded cheddar cheese, you're gonna take your large bag, you're going to staple them together above the seal, and then you're gonna get a label on there. Now when you go to make this one, you're going to thaw it. Dump the contents of the large bag into a large stovetop pot or a really deep skillet. You're gonna add 3 cups of water. Now you don't need to remember that because it's gonna say that right on your label. But you are also, when it comes to a boil, you're going to add your spaghetti noodles right in here. Like your dry spaghetti noodles are gonna cook up right in the sauce. That's gonna do 2 things. One is it's gonna save you a lot of dishes. No pot for the pasta, no strainer for the pasta, so you don't have to wash those. But the other thing that it's gonna do is that those noodles are gonna take on more of the flavor. So this is gonna be a more flavorful meal. This one is actually really popular. We did a poll in our Facebook group asking what people's top 3 Freezer Meals 101 recipes were, and one pot taco spaghetti was pretty near the top. The number 1 was barbecue meatloaf, actually, which really surprised me. And the number 2 is the next recipe we're going to be doing. Apparently, people are fans of ground beef. So anyway, that is why we chose the recipes that are in this video, is that every single one of the recipes in this video today were voted as some of the top recipes out of our more than 400 recipes. So this one, super easy, super family friendly, and as you saw, very fast to put together. Before we move on to the next recipe, I do want to share a few tips with you. One is that you should drink water when you're assembling your freezer meals, and even when you're doing your prep. Just helps to keep your energy level up, and it's healthy. The other thing that can help keep your energy up is if you listen to a great playlist. Some music always helps your spirits, and wear good quality shoes on your feet. That will help prevent your feet from getting sore, and it also helps your back and your whole body. So we recommend that if you're going to be standing for these long periods of time. Now today, this is not a long period of time. For me, it's a little longer because I'm talking to you so much. But for you, really, this should come together in like an hour or 2, and you'll get faster as you go. So no matter how long this takes you today, the next time you do this, it'll take you less time and less time and less time. And these little tips that I'm sharing with you will help cut that time down even more. If you're following along with me and making these stacks as I make them, then you now have 6 family dinners already done. That is 6 nights that you don't have to worry about what's for dinner. So I hope you feel really proud of yourself, because I'm proud of you. The next one we're gonna do is Sloppy Joes, and yes, this super simple recipe was voted number 3 by our club members. So we are going to add the ground beef into the bags again. Minced onion, which handy enough we already had sitting out here from our last recipes. Some finely diced green pepper. So for the green pepper, I'm actually not measuring it because I know that when I did my prep, this was the only recipe that called for green pepper. So I'm just dividing it about equally between the 2 bags. But for peppers, when we're doing the diced peppers, it's about the same as an onion. Like 1 bell pepper is going to, I mean, some are bigger, some are smaller, but on average, 1 bell pepper is gonna give you about 1 cup of yield. So that's, if we have a lot of recipes that are using bell pepper and we're portioning them out among a lot of recipes, then when we're measuring, we are using that about a cup for 1 pepper. Next, we're gonna add some salt and pepper. Some dry mustard powder. Some chili sauce. Some ketchup. Again, if you would rather measure it, you can measure it exactly, but I'm just gonna kind of guesstimate. So it's 2 tablespoons. So 1, 2, sounds good to me. 1, 2, good to me. We're gonna add some tomato sauce. We also have a Sloppy Joe's recipe that is a barbecue chicken Sloppy Joe's that uses ground chicken. And some of my kids prefer that to this one. Actually, it's really good. Another thing that I want to quickly mention is when it comes to holding your bags open, you can buy these little things that you can clip your bags into. I actually own some, but I never use them. I find that they slow me down, especially if I'm assembling a lot of meals at once. Today what we're doing is we're making 2 of each of these meals, but often, especially when I do my mega sessions, I'm doing 4 meals at a time, so I'm laying out 4 bags, and I find that as long as I open them on the bottom and make a pretty wide stance here, then they stay open pretty well on their own. It's another one of those things where practice comes into play. Now, have I had it happen where a bag falls over and the contents dump all over my counter and onto the floor? Yes. Has it even happened recently, even though I've been doing this for years and years? Yes. But the amount of times it happens is very rare, and it's if I've taken my eyes off that bag and turned my back to it. So I think just with keeping a close eye, you're usually okay. There are exceptions though. If you're doing a really saucy sauce or a saucy soup, then sometimes you need some extra help. You can either get a friend or family member to hold the bag just like this as you're adding the rest of the ingredients, especially like if you're doing a soup and you're adding the broth or a can of diced tomatoes or something that's really liquidy. Or you can actually place your container right in a plastic, you can use a juice jug or a plastic container. I'm gonna grab a juice jug and show you. I changed my mind, I decided to show you with a plastic container. So we're just going to set our container there, place our bag down in it, and as you can see, it just creates a little more stability here, and then you can continue to add your ingredients into the bag. Now, if you were using a juice jug, what you'd do is you'd actually wrap this folded over portion over the top of the juice jug, and that creates a lot of stability. That's a really good idea for soups. One that comes to mind is our corn chowder, because that one is extremely saucy, and we definitely need help with that one when we're bagging it up. Next, we're gonna add a little bit of brown sugar, some Worcestershire sauce, and some lemon juice. Just like that, you have 2 more meals done. This is so incredible. Like, look at you go. You want to get your labels on there. For this one, you can just, once it's thawed, heat it in a stovetop pot, in a skillet, or even in the slow cooker. Super easy, and then you're gonna serve it on buns. Next, we're gonna move on to make our Cajun sausage sheet pan. When we were doing our prep yesterday, because I only had this one recipe that called for the garlic sausage, I just went ahead and sliced it directly into the bags. That way I knew that each bag was getting 1 garlic sausage, and I didn't have to try to measure things out or figure it out today. And then I already had part of this meal started, because we're starting with our garlic sausage right in the bag, already sliced up. Next, we're gonna add our peeled and cubed sweet potato. Now, since this is a sheet pan, they're pretty large cubes. This is one where the flavors of the garlic sausage kind of go into everything. And then you've got that Cajun seasoning. It is so flavorful. And really, it's a complete meal. You've got your vegetables, you've got your starch, you've got your protein. If you want to, you can throw some baby potatoes on there the day you go to make this, but it doesn't need it. You've got your sweet potatoes there. Now, the reason we wouldn't add baby potatoes into our bags right now is that raw potatoes don't actually freeze and thaw very well. They end up black, they change texture. It's just not a good experience. If you want to find out what freezes and what doesn't, you can grab our What Freezes Well cheat sheet. The link for that is going to be down below. Then we're going to add our butternut squash that is peeled and seeded and coarsely diced. Next, we're going to add some coarsely chopped zucchini. And again, this is all going to cook up all at the same time. When you go to make this, you're gonna thaw it, and you're gonna dump the bag contents onto a baking sheet. Again, you can line it with parchment paper if you prefer, and then you're gonna just bake the whole thing in the oven. It's really that simple. And in 35 minutes, your entire dinner is on the table. Now, you might notice that for all of the meals we've made today, we've assembled them directly in the bags. You can use a good quality freezer bag, or you can use a reusable silicone bag if you prefer. The great thing about making it right in the bag is that there's less dishes, because then you're not mixing it in a bowl and dumping the the contents of the bowl into your bag or anything like that. You're not messing with anything except for the bag, which we love. Now, sometimes there are exceptions. Sometimes there's a marinade or something that you'll need to mix together in a bowl before pouring it into your meal. The other time that is an exception is if you're making single serve freezer meals, and there is a video for your first stack of single serve meals if you're wanting to make them for someone that you know that lives on their own, or you're wanting to make them for your lunches. They're great for 1 or 2. So if you're wanting to make them for like a newlywed couple, this makes an amazing gift. Or if you're wanting to make them for a couple that just had their first baby, anything like that, you can go and watch our beginner freezer meals for 1 or 2 video, and you'll see how we do those. And for those, you'll see that a lot of the times we do mix things together in a bowl before we portion them out among quite a few containers. But for family size meals, it really is just faster and easier to throw things in your bag, mix it together right there in the bag, and get it in your freezer. So next we're gonna add a little splash of olive oil, some Cajun seasoning, and a bit of salt. Now, just another note to make here, if your Cajun seasoning contains salt, you don't have to add the salt. So that's something that you can decide for yourself. Or of course, if you're trying to do lower sodium, you don't have to add it either. The great thing about our recipes is that they're so adaptable depending on your needs. All right, we're gonna get our labels on there. If you cooked along with me today, then you will have 10 delicious dinners to feed your family. The feeling of going into your freezer and seeing that they are already done is amazing. I am so excited for you. I want to be the first to welcome you into freezer freedom. Now, if you are looking for more tips and tricks, then I invite you to poke around our YouTube channel, but the best resources are in the description box down below this video. And of course, if you would like to make freezer meals super attainable and have that freezer freedom all the time, then I invite you to join the Freezer Meals 101 Club. The link for that is also down below. Thanks so much for being here with me today, and happy cooking.